Welcome to the eShopperReviews special podcast for the anticipated, but not yet announced, June 2022 Nintendo Direct. I'm Jen Ip.
And I'm Jake McNeil.
For those new to this podcast, eShopperReviews is a subreddit on reddit.com where Jake reviews games on the Nintendo Switch platform, and you can find this subreddit at the URL reddit.com/r/eShopperReviews. We currently have over 1,900 reviews and counting, and we are supported by your donations on our Patreon, which you can find at patreon.com/eShopperReviews.
So this month we're doing something a little out of the ordinary. We don't normally do these, predictions, speculation sort of podcasts, but as you know, once it gets to be around June of the year, people start talking about E3 and Summer Games Fest, and this year there is no E3. E3 does not exist this year. They've announced that it will come back next year, although it's anybody's guess how important it will be by that point. However, despite that there's no E3, and despite that Nintendo has specifically said that they will not be taking part in Summer Games Fest, it's pretty much assumed by most people that they will still be doing a big Nintendo Direct as if it was an E3 event. Sometime this month. A lot of industry insiders are saying that this will probably happen around the 28th, 29th, or 30th, probably around the 29th, because that coincides with some sort of investor call that Nintendo does every year. So they're thinking that maybe Nintendo will make their big announcements and that will make them look nice for their big investor call. But as of this recording, there is no official confirmation that they're going to be doing anything, but they do something like this just about every year, so it's pretty much assumed. And everybody is kind of wondering what might be coming up in the latter part of the year. Nintendo already has a bunch of games lined up, but there are some holes in their schedule where they haven't announced specific release dates, and there are people wondering, well, is this game going to happen? Is that game going to happen? And I figured we would take the opportunity to talk about that and see what might be coming up.
Okay, so let me fire off the big announcements for June from Sony and Microsoft.
Yeah, I figured this would be a good way to kind of start things off to set the tone, because by this recording, Sony and Microsoft have already had their big Summer Games Fest-ish, whatever it's going to be called. They've had their big events, and so we've seen what they have to show.
So, Sony has Resident Evil 4 Remake, Street Fighter 6, Final Fantasy 16, PSVR 2 Talk.
But, okay, I put PSVR 2 Talk. They announced a bunch of games would support PlayStation VR 2. Oh. And I didn't want to list all of the games. Basically, if you're interested in PlayStation VR 2, you probably already know, but they announced support for Resident Evil Village is going to be supporting PlayStation VR 2. No Man's Sky is going to be supporting it. A bunch of games that are already out are going to be supporting PSVR 2, but anyway, moving on.
And the other one from Sony is Spider-Man and Miles Morales, which is coming to PC.
So, I feel like most people, it seems like, came out of Sony's they came out of their press conference feeling satisfied, not like overwhelmed or thrilled, but I mean, they kicked it off with the Resident Evil 4 remake, which is sure to be a crowd pleaser. Final Fantasy 16 looked good. Everybody seemed pretty happy with Street Fighter 6, which is complete opposite of how people responded to Street Fighter 5, which was not exactly a crowd pleaser there. I don't feel like any of the announcements at Sony's show were super big, world-changing, earth-shattering announcements, but I think everybody more or less agreed, yeah, it was pretty good.
And then from Microsoft, we have Redfall, Hollow Knight Silksong coming to Xbox, High on Life, Forza Motorsport. We have new content for Microsoft's Flight Simulator, yay. New details on Overwatch 2, Scorn, Minecraft Legends, Diablo 4 details, Wulong Fallen Dynasty from Team Ninja, And then Persona 3, 4, and 5 coming to Xbox, PC, and PlayStation 5. And Hideo Kojima is working with Microsoft Studios
Hideo
on...
Kojima.
Is it Hideo?
Hideo.
Okay.
It's a Japanese name. You're supposed to pronounce it phonetically.
Okay.
Hideo.
Well, Mr. Kojima is working with Microsoft Studios on an unnamed game, and unfortunately, Starfield has been delayed to 2023.
Well, we knew that Starfield was delayed before this press conference, but they actually showed it off in depth for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, of course, people are going to have differing opinions. I think most people, again, were very pleased with this press conference. There was no earth-shattering announcement, but there were some nice little surprises here and there. Like seeing Persona 3, 4, and 5 finally coming to a non-Sony platform is huge. Those games have only ever been on Sony platforms and maybe occasionally on PC. Hollow Knight Silksong coming to Xbox, that was big for Microsoft because previously that looked to be only a Nintendo Switch exclusive, or at least launch exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
Diablo 4 looks fantastic, and they gave some more details on the game. I mean, it was announced prior to this, but they talked about how it was going to be an open world, how it was going to have a lot of support for multiplayer stuff, and just visually the game looks fantastic. And the fact that they got some sort of unnamed project from Hideo Kojima, that's a big get for them. Wolong Fallen Dynasty is a nice collaboration for them with Team Ninja. They made it a point to say that they're trying to work out more stuff with Japanese developers specifically, since historically that's been a weak point for Microsoft. And they finally showed off gameplay of Starfield. Sadly, it won't be coming this year, but we already knew this. My own personal opinion, just watching the trailer, Starfield looks good. It doesn't look earth-shattering. I mean, when we first saw the trailer of Oblivion or the first trailer of Skyrim, it looked incredible. And Starfield looks good. It doesn't have that same wow effect outside of what they're aiming to do, which is they're saying that they want to have fully explorable planets, and they're aiming to have something like 1,000 of them, which kind of makes people a bit apprehensive about that breadth versus depth issue.
I would be apprehensive.
I mean, it sounds, a lot of people are saying it sounds like they're trying to do like the Elder Scrolls Fallout version of No Man's Sky.
Mm-hmm.
And we all remember how No Man's Sky was at launch.
Yep.
So I don't know. And I must say I've lost a lot of faith in Bethesda over recent years due to the disastrous launches that they've had over the recent years.
Fallout 76 much?
Oof.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But from what I saw in their trailer at this show, it looked good. And I will certainly give it the benefit of the doubt. Of course, all of this stuff that we're talking about, at least most of this stuff, not coming to Nintendo Switch. There are a few exceptions, though. Obviously, Hollow Knight Silksong is already confirmed for Switch, although the release date's still up in the air. We don't know when it's coming. Overwatch 2 not only is confirmed for Switch, but we got a release date now. It's coming out, I believe, October 4th or 5th. And it's going to be free to play on all platforms, including Switch. So you won't need to pay a single penny, and you'll be able to get Overwatch 2 on your Nintendo Switch.
Mm-hmm.
Minecraft Legends, that's another one that's coming to Nintendo Switch. Let's see, what else do we have here? I think there was one other that I'm not seeing at the moment. There are a few games where it's kind of up in the air. People aren't sure whether or not it will be. Like, the previous Diablo games came to Switch. Diablo 4, they haven't really talked about other platforms. I think there's a good chance that might just be an Xbox and PC exclusive at this point.
I think so.
They're really trying to take advantage of that kind of exclusivity at this point, but we don't know for sure. It's possible it could come to Switch. I don't know. The other thing where a lot of people are seriously wondering about this is Persona 3, 4, and 5. Fans have been begging for these games to come to Switch for years now. And now that they're finally announced to be coming to non-Sony platforms, everybody's like, okay, but are there going to be Switch versions? Are there going to be Switch versions? And it's possible that they're holding off on announcing those until Nintendo's event, or maybe it's just not coming to Nintendo Switch and fans are going to be disappointed again. We don't know. But as it stands, I think people were pretty satisfied with Sony's announcements, but not like blown away by them. People were pretty satisfied with Microsoft's announcements, but not blown away by them. So those are that's the level of expectation I feel a lot of people are going into Nintendo's presumed event with. We already know there's a bunch of good stuff coming for Nintendo this year. We don't really need a bunch of mega hit announcements from Nintendo. It would be really nice, but we don't really need it. So as long as Nintendo comes in with a few nice surprises, maybe something really cool, maybe extra footage for some of the games that have been announced, but we haven't seen much about, I feel like people will come away from it satisfied too. And having said that, time to go into the next little topic we have here, which is...
Well, what we already know is coming for July and later. You want me to just fire off the whole entire list?
Sure. Why don't you read it off for the ones that have dates, and then once it gets to the we don't know when it's coming out, we can talk about the, when do we think it's coming out stuff. But go ahead and go through the stuff that has dates.
Okay. Oh gosh, I'm going to butcher some of these names. Coming July 8th is Klonoa Fantasy Reverie Series. Live a Live.
I think it's called Live Alive. Yes, it's very strange, but I mean,
well, it's coming July 22nd. Digimon Survive, which I'm actually a huge fan of the Digimon series, comes July 29th.
We actually finally have, after years of it being this nebulous, well, maybe it exists kind of thing, we actually have a release date for Digimon Survive, and it's soon. So that's kind of cool.
Xenoblade Chronicles 3, July 29th as well. 2 Point Campus, August 8th. Splatoon 3 comes out in September 9th. Front Mission First Remake, Summer 2022. Overwatch 2 is coming October 4th. Pokemon Scarlet, Pokemon Violet comes out November 18th. Yay. Crisis Core Final Fantasy 7?
7, yes.
Yes. Reunion Winter 2022.
This was actually just announced right before we started recording this. Crisis Core, for those who aren't aware, is a prequel to Final Fantasy VII. It kind of goes in depth into the events that take place before Final Fantasy VII and follows the character of Zack, who's kind of Cloud's mentor of sorts, to put it. And they announced it for multiple platforms, including Nintendo Switch. So anyway, please continue.
Okay. Romancing Saga Minstrel Song Remastered Winter 2022. Hogwarts Legacy Holiday 2022. I'm actually very curious about this.
Me too.
Sonic Frontiers Holiday 2022. Dying Light 2, maybe in 2022?
Presumably in 2022. I think they've more or less missed their release date, but it could get announced for any day now. It could just get... I don't know. I don't know when it's coming out, but it's coming presumably still this year.
Bayonetta 3 2022. Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope 2022. Metal Slug Tactics 2022. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 comes out in 2023. Cocoon 2023. Minecraft Legends 2023. And then the rest of this has no clear...
Okay, so the other stuff that I have listed here is stuff that we know is announced, but we don't have release dates for. I'm going to start with one that I neglected to put on here, but I remember it's kind of a big deal. No Man's Sky is coming to Nintendo Switch. We don't know exactly when. They announced it earlier this year. It could come this year. It could come next year. It's kind of hard to say because... honestly, I'm shocked that that game works on Nintendo Switch at all. It is such a massive game. And I know a lot of people kind of look askance at No Man's Sky, in part because of the way it launched. But supposedly, it improved greatly in the time since then. And
It has.
I have not had the opportunity to play it yet. I'm really looking forward to trying it.
I have.
What'd you think of it?
It's not my cup of tea.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is a game for somebody who kind of wants that cozy game that I want to turn off my brain for a little bit, but
Interesting.
mind some stuff or whatever. But at the same time, if you want to put a bit more forethought into it, you can still do that with the game.
Okay. The next game here is kind of a bit of an odd case, and that is Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Pack. This was announced with a release date for earlier this year. I think it was, I want to say April. And then Russia invaded Ukraine, and it just threw everything into chaos because this is a game that has kind of a cartoony, almost kid-friendly presentation in a game about war, where one of the countries is kind of this analog for Russia, and it's like, I could see how this could turn into a PR nightmare, and Nintendo didn't want to release that right as this actual real-life war was breaking out. But now everybody's got this question of, clearly the game is complete by this point. It's been announced, it had its release date come and gone, not because the game got delayed due to development issues, but due to external world issues.
Yeah.
Is it still going to get released? Is it getting released soon? When is it getting released? And personally, I think by this point, everyone has kind of gotten used to this idea of, yes, this game was due to come out even before all this stuff with Russia and Ukraine happened. And now that the news of that invasion is no longer fresh, I think there's a chance that Nintendo might be a bit more willing to go back to it and go, okay, this game is pretty much done. Let's get it out there. Now, they might try to sneak it out there. This might be kind of a, let's just drop this off in December right before the holidays kind of release. When nobody's really paying as much attention, that way they can still release it. People who want it can still get it. But it's not this big newsworthy thing where if people get upset about comparisons between this remake, and to be clear, this is a remake. All the stuff that's in the game predates the Russian-Ukraine war by decades. Hopefully they can find a way to make it work and still release it this year. There's a few games that Nintendo has announced for this year without specific release dates, and there's also a few months that don't have specific releases in them. I believe it's December and October. And pretty much everyone seems to be assuming, okay, Bayonetta 3, that is a perfect release for October. December, that could be Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope. Yeah, Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Pack would work in that time slot, or they could just release it in a month where there's something else coming out. In addition to that, a game, I keep putting in these lists because it is technically announced, but it's been technically announced for years now, which is Detective Pikachu 2. It's supposedly in the works. I feel like they missed their opportunity to take advantage of the popularity of the film by this point. Maybe they'll hold off on doing something until they've got a Detective Pikachu 2 movie in the works. I don't know, but there's always a possibility that it will come out. However, Nintendo very rarely announces Pokemon games at their E3 or the June Direct. Usually they save that for other games and let Pokemon be its own thing and have its own Direct.
That's how they typically
do
it.
I would not expect to see Detective Pikachu 2 at this Direct, even if it's ready to come out this year. I'd expect if it's going to happen, they're going to put it in a later Direct on its own, a Pokemon-specific Direct. The other big Nintendo game that has been announced that we haven't seen is Metroid Prime 4. This has been many, many years in the works. It got scrapped and restarted from scratch years ago We're still wondering what the heck is going on with it. They're saying development is progressing smoothly. I kind of feel like this E3, this is it, by this point, if it doesn't show up, people are really going to start wondering, okay, what's going on with this game? Does it even still exist? So I feel like this is probably the right time to actually show something of it. Show anything.
Let's hope.
Yeah, anything beyond just a JPEG of the logo flashed on the screen, which is what they did at first.
So mean.
Yeah. I think there's a good chance of it. I feel like Nintendo really is trying to focus on making it good and making sure that it releases in a good state, especially with how long it's been in development. My guess would be that even if it does get revealed at this June Direct that we're talking about, it wouldn't be coming out this year. Probably it would be coming out sometime next year. But I think there's a pretty good chance that we'll see it just because, or at the very least, if they don't show that, then maybe they announce something else Metroid, like the rumored Metroid Prime remake, and then talk about Metroid Prime 4 and say, oh, it's coming along nicely, we'll show you more soon. But they can't go through the whole Direct without even mentioning it, or people will start to wonder, is this game, is it just disappearing again? A few other games that have been announced but we don't have dates for. The Outer Wilds was supposed to come out earlier this year. Don't know what happened to it. Presumably it's still coming out. Hopefully it'll make a showing. We don't know. Same thing for Portal Companion Collection. It's been announced. We know that the Portal games are coming to Switch. Don't know when yet. Hope to see more of that soon. And of course, the two big indies that everyone always asks about and nobody knows when they're coming. And that is Sports Story and Hollow Knight Silksong. And these are both teeny tiny development teams. So that's the reason why they've taken as long as they have and why the release date has not materialized. I don't know about Sports Story, although it's been long enough that it's possible we could see something more on it, or they could wait for the next Indie Direct and talk about it there. Hollow Knight Silksong is kind of an interesting case, though, because it was revealed on a Nintendo Direct. Now we got the news that it's coming to an Xbox platform. It seems like the time might be right for them to actually reveal a release date in a Nintendo Direct. We could get that this time. Or they could just give us updated footage of the game and still not reveal a release date, although I feel like that's just teasing a bit too much. I'm thinking there's a good chance we get a release date. But I feel like those are the games that we have announced that don't have dates that are kind of the major releases that we know about so far. So that's what we know about. Now we're going to talk like speculation. So please continue, Jen.
Oh, goodness. Okay. So, fireworks are starting soon. We have development studios and what they might be working on.
So I've done this before where I break down all of Nintendo's internal development studios as well as their frequent development partners, including second-party studios and third parties that they regularly work with, and kind of try to take a peek at, well, is this studio busy? Are they working on something we know about? Or is there something mysterious in the works? So we're just going to go through one by one and talk about each of those real quick here.
Nintendo EAD1 or EPD9.
These studios have been referred to by different names over the years. And that's one of the things with Nintendo is they don't keep their studios separate. A lot of them kind of cooperate and merge together on projects, or they'll have a few members work on one or go to another. So this isn't cut and dry. And the names that we're using, because they're fluid and they've changed, don't take this as a confirmation of this is what it is called now. I don't really know the full structure of Nintendo's internals. This is just a rough idea of how things are working internal at Nintendo.
Okay.
And EAD1 or EPD9, depending on, I don't know how they're being referred to at this point. This is the studio that is mainly responsible for Mario Kart. They did Mario Kart 8, they did ARMS, the kind of boxing game with spring arms, and then they assisted with Mario Kart Tour on mobile. And it's pretty much assumed that they are working on the next Mario Kart at this point, but I can guarantee you are not going to see the next Mario Kart, the next big major Mario Kart, for a long while yet, because first things first, we have all of this Mario Kart 8 DLC that they've announced, and they've got to keep working on that and gradually revealing it. So I feel like that is the main thing on Nintendo Switch that we are going to see from EAD1 at this point, is just more Mario Kart DLC, because they've already announced it.
And a little bit of ARMS.
It's possible that they could do a sequel to ARMS. I feel like ARMS was underappreciated, and if they worked on evolving that formula, maybe it would get the audience that it maybe deserves, but I don't know. We'll see.
Nintendo EAD2 is working on Animal Crossing, Wii Sports, and Splatoon. That's what we think.
Well, those are the games that EAD2 tends to work on.
Mm-hmm.
They're responsible for the Animal Crossing series and the Splatoon series mainly. They also did some work on Wii Sports, some of those games. However, right now we know exactly what they're working on. They're working on Splatoon 3, which is due out later this year.
Yep.
And presumably they're also still working on the upcoming DLC for Nintendo Switch Sports, which they've already announced that golf is coming to Nintendo Switch Sports. I don't know if there's more that's going to be coming. We'll see. But at the very least, we know that's coming. So we already know what they're working on.
Nintendo EAD3 is working on Zelda.
Yeah, this is the team that's generally known for the Zelda series.
Mm-hmm.
And they are very clearly working hard on The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. Big question is, will we see more of it at this presentation? Maybe. Nintendo doesn't tend to like to show off next year's games at the June Direct. Usually they tend to wait until later in the year, and this one's already confirmed to be going to 2023, so we might have to wait a little bit longer for this. But it's possible, because this is the biggest game in their entire catalog right now. It's possible they could show off more of it. I don't know, maybe 50-50 shot that we see this one at this June Direct.
Nintendo EAD4 is working on 2D Mario games, Pikmin, Big Brain Academy.
Again, to be clear, we're not saying that that's what they're working on. Those are the games that they tend to be responsible for. And mainly, this is the team, that's the three things they do. They do 2D Mario games, they do the Pikmin series, and they do Big Brain Academy. And most recently, they worked on helping to bring over the port of New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. They worked on porting over Pikmin 3, and they helped with bringing the new Big Brain Academy game to Nintendo Switch, as well as Super Mario Maker 2. So, with that being the case, they've already brought a few 2D Mario games to the Nintendo Switch. They're not likely to bring another Big Brain Academy game to Switch. That's a bit too much. So I'd have to say, given that, it's probably getting to be about time that we either see an actual Pikmin 4 from them, or maybe an all-new 2D Mario game.
Either or sounds fun.
Yeah, it would definitely add a bit of variety into their upcoming release schedule. I know that Pikmin fans have been waiting for Pikmin 4 for like decades now.
Yeah.
Or it seems like decades at least.
About almost 2 decades, maybe.
I don't think 2 decades.
Yeah, maybe.
No.
Nintendo EAD5 has worked on Wii Fit and Star Fox.
Mm-hmm.
But they haven't really made any games yet, or so people say.
They haven't made any games for Nintendo Switch, and that's because that group was kind of more or less merged into one of the other groups. So we can just move on with that. They're not working on anything, probably.
Nintendo EAD Software Group Tokyo has worked on Mario 3D games, Captain Toad. That particular studio made Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury.
Yeah, these guys are rumored to be working on a new Donkey Kong game, but that rumor has been floating around for years now. So I'm not sure how much truth there is to it. And they've really only done one Donkey Kong game in their history, and that was DK Jungle Beat, which I could totally see them doing another game like that at some point, but I have trouble imagining that it would take them this long to do it if that rumor proved to be true. Now, the other rumor, or the other, not rumor, I should say, the other thing that a lot of people are kind of wondering is really tantalizing, which is what if they are doing for Super Mario Odyssey what they did for Super Mario Galaxy? And that is this. When Super Mario Galaxy came out, the team behind that game had so many ideas for the game that originally they were planning on making a bunch of DLC for it, but their ideas were exploding left and right, and eventually they decided to just make a whole new game, and that's how we got Super Mario Galaxy 2. A lot of people are wondering, because it's been a good long while since we got the first Super Mario Odyssey, could we be seeing another Super Mario Odyssey soon? And I don't want to get people's hopes up because that would be incredible. But at the same time, the only other thing that this team has done lately was port over Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. And yes, Bowser's Fury was all new content, but that was also a pretty short add-on section, and it's been a whole year since that game came out. And I doubt that it took multiple years just for them to design that one little segment. So what the heck is the Mario 3D team working on? I really hope that people who are speculating that we might get a new 3D Mario game, I hope that turns out to be true. However, if it does turn out to be just a new 2D Donkey Kong game, that'd be cool too. I have to imagine they would probably do something gimmicky with it like they did with Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, but I mean, that could be fun. I don't know. We'll see.
Nintendo SPD has worked on WarioWare and Rhythm Heaven. They also helped co-develop Metroid Dread. And what are they working on? Kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, these guys are more behind the scenes these days. So I'm not sure if they would qualify as a support studio. A lot of Nintendo's studios, and we're about to get into a few of them, are mainly for support. I kind of tend to think that maybe that's what these guys are doing. However, given that these guys have worked on the Rhythm Heaven series before, and we haven't seen any of those games on Switch, it wouldn't surprise me if we got a Rhythm Heaven Rhythm Heaven a Rhythm Heaven game released on the Switch at some point, not in the too distant future, because I mean, that's a pretty small game and it's still fairly well liked. It's not like a mega hit, bestseller franchise, but not every Nintendo game is going to be that. And it would be nice to see this series make a comeback on Switch.
All right, so the next 4 studios pretty much provide support on various other games.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't really feel like it's necessary to mention them.
Nintendo SPD2, SPD3, and EPD2. Again, it's not entirely sure it's not clear to us what these studios are being called now. It's just kind of this group of people. And all 3 of those are just kind of like support studios. They assist other studios with what they're doing. And we already know what they're assisting other studios with. One is helping with Xenoblade and Bayonetta and Pokemon. One is helping with Metroid Prime 4. One is helping with Mario plus Rabbids. The only one that could be working on its own thing, as far as what it looks like here, is Nintendo EPD4. This is the studio that's best known for kind of Nintendo's more odd projects like Labo and Ring Fit Adventure. And they just recently worked on Nintendo Switch Sports. And again, that has DLC coming, so it's entirely possible they're just working on the DLC.
Well, you want to skip over to...
No, I don't want to skip. I want to be comprehensive here. Oh, there were a few other studios that I have listed here that are mostly just support. Nintendo Software Technology used to be one of Nintendo's major development studios, but now they're mostly just support. I was
going to talk about that.
But you said you were skipping over stuff.
I didn't think it was... Wait, it is a studio?
Yeah, Nintendo Software Technology.
Oh, okay. Continue.
However, even though they do a lot of support work, they are also the team that's responsible for the Mini Mario games, or the Mario versus Donkey Kong series. And again, that's a series we have not yet seen on Nintendo Switch, and we're 5 years in. It would not surprise me to see a new Mario versus Donkey Kong game on Nintendo Switch at this point. Will we? I don't know. I kind of made a similar prediction last year, and that obviously didn't happen. But if it happened, I'd be like, oh, yeah, it's about time for that. Okay, now we're moving on to subsidiary studios. These are studios that are not necessarily internal to Nintendo, but they are studios that Nintendo owns. And just to get it out of the way real quick, they have a bunch of studios that are also just support studios. They don't really have their own projects. They just help out with other things. And those are 1UP Studio, IQ, Mario Club, and SRD, or Systems Research and Development. So let's skip past those. And I've hogged up the talking here for a bit, so I'll let you go back to introducing them now that we're on to actual non-support studios again.
Wait, so you want me to start with
Yes.
Monolith?
Yes.
Monolith Soft?
Yes.
They are working, supposedly. Are we still talking about supposedly?
Oh no, we know they're working on Xenoblade Chronicles 3.
Okay.
They're responsible for the Xenoblade series, and they have their hands full because they are about to release Xenoblade Chronicles 3 within a few months. And they are assisting with the development for Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2.
Okay. ND Cube, who are the designers of Wii Play and Party and Mario Party series, most recently put out Mario Party Superstars last year.
Yeah, these guys have something pretty much every year, or nearly every year, and they pretty much follow the same pattern. These guys release little smaller projects, usually party games, or things that use motion controls in silly ways. There's a very good chance that we could see something from ND Cube this year. I would expect something frivolous, maybe something fun to play with your family, but definitely not going to be a big, huge mega hit game. Probably not a new Mario Party game, because we just came off of Mario Party, and they usually go back and forth between Mario Party, something else, Mario Party, something else. So maybe because we got Nintendo Switch Sports, and kind of in the Wii Sports series, maybe in the line of the Wii Play series, we can get Nintendo Switch Play. I don't know. That's my prediction. Maybe I'll be wrong, but we'll see.
Next Level Games has worked on Luigi's Mansion, Mario Strikers, and Punch-Out! And this studio recently put out Mario Strikers Battle League. So they'll probably work on some more DLC.
Yeah, that's what people are expecting. I think people have already data mined Mario Strikers Battle League and have found that there's something like 10 slots for characters. So if we get anything from Next Level Games at this event, it's probably going to be the announcement of DLC in the form of characters for the game.
Retro Studios has worked on Metroid Prime, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, and are working on Metroid Prime 4.
Yep. They have had other mysterious projects on their plate for a while now. We do not know what those projects are, but it's pretty certain that all of those have been sidelined in favor of getting Metroid Prime 4 done. So do not expect anything from Retro Studios at this event unless we see Metroid Prime 4, or possibly if they announce remakes or remasters of the original Metroid Prime or the original Metroid Prime trilogy, Retro Studios will be involved with that. But if they do anything at this event, it's probably going to be Metroid Prime related.
Arika has worked on Tetris 99, Super Mario's 35, and Pac-Man 99.
Super Mario's 35?
Super Mario Brothers 35, hush. We're due for another Battle Royale type game. Maybe they'll dip into Zelda, but...
Yeah, they do. They've done one of these every year for the last 3 years as kind of like a little extra bonus for Nintendo Switch Online subscribers. And Nintendo might feel like it's not necessary this year because they're doing the expansion pack, or they might feel it's extra necessary this year because they want to sell people on the expansion pack. But I mean, the past 3 games have taken a classic Nintendo game, or at least a classic game that was on Nintendo platforms, like on the original NES, and made kind of a battle royale, you versus 34 or 99 other players kind of thing. I don't know. There's any number of games that Nintendo could do that with. Um, I could picture them doing a balloon fight 99 and having you play against 99 other players with that, which actually could be kind of fun. Balloon fight is basically just Joust, which was fun enough back in the day. I don't know. I can only imagine what sort of games they could reimagine in that format, but it kind of feels like we're getting to be to about time where they could be announcing another one. If we don't get one in this direct, I would say I definitely expect an announcement in the next major one late in this year.
Camelot has worked on Mario Golf, Mario Tennis, and Golden Sun. They don't always make something every year, but they might be working on Golden Sun this time around.
I don't expect that Camelot would be releasing another Mario Golf or another Mario Tennis on the same platform. And it's possible they just take a year off to work on something else. I know that fans of the Golden Sun series have been clamoring for a new game in that series for a while now, and if there's any platform it was going to be a success, if there was any platform it was going to be a success on, it would be Nintendo Switch. So maybe we'll actually see that. I don't know. I'm kind of leaning maybe in the direction of they take this year off and maybe we hear something from them next year. Maybe Mario Sports related, but I would actually say there's a possibility, don't take my word for it, but there's a possibility that Golden Sun might actually make a comeback because they don't seem to have anything else on their plate at the moment.
Creatures/Game Freak/Pokemon Company obviously make Pokemon. They've worked on Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet. What happened to Pokemon Sleep and Detective Pikachu, though? Kind of waiting for that still.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering about Pokemon Sleep, or what about the toothbrushing Pokemon game? Like, you remember that Pokemon Brush or whatever they call it, Pokemon? I don't even remember. Anyway, there are definitely Pokemon games in the works that we haven't seen much of that we know that they're working on. But again, Nintendo doesn't tend to put Pokemon games in their June Direct. Usually they save Pokemon games for their own Pokemon Direct. So don't expect to see those here.
Genius Sonority, Pokemon side games, and Denpa Men. They put out Pokemon Cafe Mix in 2020. They might have a new Pokemon side game, but probably won't talk about it on Nintendo Direct.
Yeah, it's been a few years since Genius Sonority put out something. They could just be maintaining Pokemon Cafe Mix. I don't know. I wasn't really super enamored with that game, so I can't.
Neither was I.
Yeah. But again, if they're working on something Pokemon, don't expect to see it here. I mean, again, it's always possible that a Pokemon thing drops into the Direct, but it's not likely. I suppose the other possibility is we could get a new Denpa Men game, but I don't know. Did anyone pay attention to that franchise when it was on Nintendo 3DS?
Never heard of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's possible, but yeah, I don't know.
Goodfeel worked on Yoshi's Woolly/Crafted World and Kirby's Epic Yarn, supposedly working on an unnamed samurai action game, but they haven't made anything since 2019.
I mean, that's a long while for one of these studios to go without a game. I kind of feel like we're getting to around time where we might actually get to see that samurai action game they've been working on. I'm kind of curious. These guys are known for kind of their cutesy toy crafting materials aesthetic. And that doesn't really seem to fit well with what I think of when I think of samurai action game. But maybe it's going to be a more cutesy, like samurai toys fighting each other kind of game or something. I don't know. But given that it's been in the works for so long, yeah, I'd say it's about time that we get that from Goodfeel. So yeah, that's a strong possibility for this Direct, I feel.
Grezzo does ports and remakes of older games like Legend of Zelda, Link's Awakening, and Miitopia. More than likely, they're going to port Zelda Oracle games.
Well, okay, that's what I put as speculation. So here's the thing. Nintendo generally likes to have a Zelda game out pretty much every year. And the big Zelda game that was going to come out this year, Breath of the Wild 2, got delayed into next year. So I would think that they're going to have something else to take the place. And there are two big things that everyone is talking about when it comes to Zelda this year. And that is either ports of Legend of Zelda Wind Waker and or Twilight Princess HD, which were released on the Wii U, have not yet made it to Nintendo Switch. Or remakes of Legend of Zelda Oracle of the Sages and Oracle of the Ages and Oracle of the Seasons, not Oracle of the Sages, which were games that were originally released on the Game Boy Color that used the Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening engine. Well, Grezzo recently remade Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening on Nintendo Switch using this kind of cutesy toy aesthetic. And people thought, well, that's just perfect. They could port over the Oracle games the same way. They could use that same kind of look, and it would keep that continuity, and it would work really well for those games too. So it seems like there's a good possibility that that's going to happen, especially because it's been, I think, a year or so since we've gotten a game from them. I think the last game we got from them was the Nintendo Switch port of Miitopia. So I'd say good chance that Grezzo is the one working on some Zelda project this year.
HAL Laboratory.
HAL, I believe.
HAL?
HAL.
Okay.
Like,
HAL Laboratory recently put out Kirby and the Forgotten Land, and probably won't be putting out anything soon unless it's a small game.
Yeah, HAL Laboratory does make a lot of smaller games. Like on Nintendo Switch, within the last few years, they've helped other studios or collaborated with other studios to put out multiple smaller like Kirby side games, like Kirby Fighters and that kind of stuff. So it's possible they could make some other like minor Kirby game, but given that they just released the biggest Kirby game ever just a few months ago, don't expect anything major from them. If HAL Laboratory is present at all in this direct, it will be something tiny. But I would say odds are good. I wouldn't expect them to be here at all.
Indie Zero made NES Remix, Theater Rhythm, Sushi Striker, Brain Training, Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory, and Big Brain Academy. Typically makes something every year, but we haven't seen Theater Rhythm or NES Remix.
And you're just taking all my lines from me.
What?
The stuff that I have like down in the lower half here was kind of for me to talk about. It was notes for me.
Well, you seem to be doing fine anyway.
So, yeah, Indie Zero puts out something more or less every year. And it's not entirely sure what they'll put out. Like Sushi Striker is kind of just random, but given their experience with Theater Rhythm, they put out Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory a few years ago. We don't have any Theater Rhythm games on the Nintendo Switch, and that was a really good music rhythm game series. The other game series that we don't have on Nintendo Switch yet, and it's really well liked by some, is NES Remix. Now, Nintendo very well might look at those and say, that's kind of in the past. We don't really need to deal with that at this point. But those are kind of my best guesses for stuff that we might see from them now.
Intelligent Systems has made Wario, Fire Emblem, Advance Wars, and Pushmo.
The funny thing with this is a game that the game they're working on has been leaked. We have gotten screenshots of it at this point. They're working on a new Fire Emblem game, which is supposedly like an anniversary game where you can summon characters from previous games throughout the series. And the main protagonist has this kind of funny looking, like half red, half blue hair. And supposedly the graphics are better than Three Houses, which is good because Three Houses did not look great. Otherwise, it was an incredible game. Just graphically, it wasn't that good. So, yeah, it looks like a good possibility we could be seeing a new Fire Emblem game very soon. Not a remake, not a Warriors game, but an entirely new Fire Emblem game.
Mercury Steam has worked on Metroid Samus?
Metroid Samus Returns.
Metroid Samus Returns.
No, Metroid Samus Returns.
Samus. Oh my gosh. Metroid Samus Returns, Metroid Dread, Castlevania, Lords of Shadow.
Yeah, these guys usually take between 3 or 4 years to work on a new game. So unless they have some other DLC for Metroid Dread, and I doubt it, it's not really... I mean, they already released some minor DLC for it, and it's not the kind of game where you expect DLC. I would say don't expect anything from Mercury Steam at this point.
Omega Force / Team Ninja currently working on releasing Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes.
Yeah, by the time this podcast comes out, it's probably already going to be released. It's possible we could get some DLC for the game like we got for Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. But aside from that, yeah, don't expect any new game from them.
Sora Ltd, i.e. Mahashiro Sakurai.
Oh, you butchered that. So it's okay. It's okay.
Say it
Don't
correctly.
cry. So Masahiro Sakurai, who is best known for working on the Super Smash Bros. Games. Well, we already had the final DLC for Super Smash Bros. He is no longer working on Super Smash Bros. He is taking a well-deserved rest from Super Smash Bros. But that's not to say that he stopped working. It's not like he went on an indefinite vacation or retired. Masahiro Sakurai is undoubtedly back to work on something. And I feel like a lot of people would really like to see a Nintendo Switch port of Kid Icarus Uprising. This was a Nintendo 3DS game that really deserved a lot more attention. It was one of the most gorgeous games on the Nintendo 3DS. It had some really great action-packed gameplay, and it would be fantastic to have it on the Nintendo Switch. Or conversely, maybe we'll get a sequel. I don't know. But in any case, if we get a new project from Sakurai and it's not some completely off-the-wall new thing, I feel like Kid Icarus Uprising, there's a possibility we could see it this year or next year.
Tosei.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how it's pronounced?
Yes.
Tosei has worked on Famicom Detective Club, Paper Mario, Origami King, WarioWare, Get It Together.
So Tosei has a long history with Nintendo. And they're a studio that have probably worked on tons of games that Nintendo fans have loved over the years. But at the same time, most Nintendo fans probably are not familiar with Tosei because Tosei is a chameleon. Their company's motto is basically, we don't have a vision for a game. We take it upon ourselves to work on other people's visions and make that a reality and kind of fade back into the shadows and let them shine. And so they make something almost every year for Nintendo, but there is absolutely no way I could possibly predict what they're working on because they could work on anything and we wouldn't even necessarily know it was them until after the fact and go, oh, that was them? Wow, that's crazy. So if you see some random Nintendo game and you don't know where it came from, could be them, could be Tosei.
Van Poole has worked on Dylan's Rolling Western, Super Kirby Clash, and Kirby Fighters 2.
Yeah, Van Poole does kind of smaller stuff, and the Super Kirby Clash and Kirby Fighters 2 were really just glorified ports almost of Nintendo 3DS games. Their one unique series is the Dylan's Rolling Western series, and that's a series that has not yet made it to Nintendo Switch. I don't feel like it was this big mega hit series, but it's possible they could bring it to Switch. I don't know. It's either that or they bring over some other minor Kirby project or something to Switch.
Well, the very last one is Platinum Games, and they are working on Bayonetta 3.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect anything else from them. They're working hard on Bayonetta 3, and I mean, unless we get an announcement for Astral Chain 2, which would be a huge surprise, and I would love that so much. Astral Chain was amazing. But I feel like they want the focus to be on Bayonetta 3 at this point.
Well, do you have any other predictions? Or something else you want to see?
I feel like maybe in this direct, maybe later, we are bound to see the game Tunic come to Nintendo Switch. This was originally on Xbox, and it is just the way it looks, the kind of idea behind the gameplay seems so perfectly suited to a Nintendo platform. A lot of people were shocked it wasn't released there first. And it was announced at Sony's event that it's going to be coming to the PlayStation 5. And I feel like there's a good chance that a Nintendo Switch announcement could be coming soon after that. Speaking of games that were tied up with other platforms, there's a good chance we'll see Persona 3, 4, and 5 come to Switch. However, there's also a good chance that we will see Persona fans severely disappointed when that doesn't happen. I feel like now's the time to do it since it was just announced for the Xbox. But the fact that now is the time to do it could mean that now is the time that it will not be done, because Sega and Atlus, I don't know, seem to indefinitely drop the ball on this franchise when it comes to Nintendo Switch. Some other games that have kind of been a long time coming to Nintendo Switch, and I think a lot of people wanted to see them. The Batman Arkham series have been rumored for a while. I don't know, WB Games has not exactly had the greatest support for Nintendo Switch. I think the only major thing that they brought to Switch has been Mortal Kombat 11. Maybe that will happen, maybe not. I hope so, because those games are incredible and it'd be great to have them on a portable platform. Mass Effect Trilogy is another one it'd be great to have, but Electronic Arts isn't exactly known for supporting the Nintendo Switch well.
No, not
so
really.
that's not a prediction. That's I'd really like it.
Mm-hmm.
Another I'd really like it, but not a prediction thing is the Half-Life series. We've already got an announcement that the Portal games are coming to Switch. Hey, the Half-Life games are amazing. It'd be great to have them on Switch. And if I was, wishing for things, man, it would be nice to finally get a Call of Duty game on Switch.
I don't see that happening.
Heck, they could bring over Call of Duty Mobile, and I would be happy with that.
Nope.
Granted, most Call of Duty fans would hate that, but that's because you haven't played Call of Duty Mobile. It is a really good game. Granted, I mean, like my dream game would be I'd love for them to bring Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare to Switch, but I feel like even if that did happen, we would be overcharged for it and it would be flooded with microtransactions because Activision Blizzard is just the worst when it comes to that these days. As far as other wishes, let's see. I mean, as always, I wish that the early Final Fantasy games came to Switch. I mean, they released them recently, the pixel recreations or whatever they call them, on, I believe, PC and mobile platforms. So it would be nice to have them. The same thing for Chrono Trigger. But I also feel like Square Enix has already announced a lot for Switch, so I wouldn't expect too much from them at this point. I mean, they've got Live Alive. They've got a new Saga game coming. They've got the Crisis Core game coming. I feel like if we get those games from them, it would not surprise me if we had to wait until next year for them, because it sounds like they've already been doing a lot for Nintendo Switch this year.
Well, I really don't have anything that I want to see.
Nothing?
Well, this past year for me, aside from Monster Hunter Rise, everything I've looked forward to
has been on PC.
Or a letdown.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What was the letdown for you?
I mean, I was hoping for Legends Arceus to be a bit more polished.
Yeah.
And I was hoping for Rune Factory 5 to be spectacular, but it wasn't.
Supposedly. So, we haven't played it yet, but we've heard not great things.
Not great things. So.
And Kirby's a platformer, so obviously that's not up your alley. Are you looking forward to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet?
I am. But I am so reserved.
Yeah, I feel like that's, at this point, any Pokemon game, you have to kind of keep your expectations in check because they love to disappoint with those Pokemon games, it seems.
At least for us who've grown up with the series,
There is one game that I think that if they announced it, you would be squealing with glee.
What game is that?
There is a game series that has not come to Nintendo platforms, to Nintendo Switch yet specifically. It's been on Nintendo's handheld platforms for the last couple generations, and it's been a mega huge seller. I'm surprised we haven't seen it. The Mario Kart team is actually responsible for it, if memory serves. So this is a outside chance possibility that they could be working on that in addition to the extra tracks for Mario Kart 8.
Okay.
The Mario Kart team is also responsible for the Nintendogs franchise. And I feel like if they announced that for Switch, you would definitely... Oh, don't give me that look. I know how you like your doggy stuff.
Yeah, but I have real dogs.
You're telling me that if they announced a video game where you play with a bunch of cute little dogs and stuff, and you have to take care of them like a virtual pet, you wouldn't want that?
I have my own dogs to do that with.
I think you are deluding yourself. I think that you would see it and you would your eyes would grow giant and little stars would appear in them and you go like, "Oh my god, I need to get this."
Okay.
In any case, it would not surprise me if that's... I didn't mention it when talking about Mario Kart because they are working on the DLC for that game.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, DLC is DLC, and Nintendogs is a major franchise, and the fact that it has not yet come to Switch is kind of a bit perplexing because that seems like it could sell millions of copies. Anyway, that was kind of a random little comment. So, nothing else you'd want to see on Switch?
No, not really.
All right.
Well, that wraps things up for the eShopperReviews special podcast. Again, we want to thank all of our patrons on Patreon for contributing. If you are interested in becoming a donor, please check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/eShopperReviews. Once again, this has been Jen Ip.
And I'm Jake McNeil.
We look forward to seeing just how many of these predictions come true, and in the meantime, we both hope you found this content helpful and entertaining. Catch you all next time.
Later.